Hi, welcome everyone, and thank you for coming. This is going to be a celebration of the life of Carol Jean Simpson, my mom. I'm Jeff, if you don't know me, and I want to assure you this is a celebration because I truly believe with all my heart and hope that she's in a much better place now. I know everyone here kind of love my mom and in their own special way. So I hope you guys are prepared to come up here at some point. We'll have an open mic, and you'll be able to express some of your stories and feelings about what a wonderful person she was. At this time, I'll invite Mackenzie up for opening prayer.
Not that short.
You're not that short?
Not that short. You were like all the way down.
Let us pray.
Dear Lord, we lift my Gigi or Carol up to you in prayer and hope you find her perfect. My Gigi was special because she loved her family, her friends, and her animals. She even tried her best to come to all the events and shows, even when she wasn't in the best health. She took good care of us, and I ask that you take good care of her now. She was always there for me and for all of us in this room here today. We are obviously sad that she has left us, but relieved that she is no longer in pain. We are happy she has found you and can rest her eternal soul in your loving arms. Be with us now as we honor the memory of Gigi's life. And together we all say, Amen.
Thank you, sweetie. You notice it's the second born up here, not the firstborn, because Ken wanted to be able to reflect, and I'm feeling that right about now. The last few years have been tough as Mom's health declined and her mental state deteriorated, but now she's looking down on us, and I was going to say that she's smiling and waving at us, but honestly, knowing my mom, she's probably already found Harry's heavenly Texas Hold'em parlor up in heaven and is sitting with pocket aces about to push all in. She's got Mikey, her Cocker Spaniel, sitting in her lap because she always loved her dogs, and a Grey Goose cocktail on the rocks, just sipping it. The maitre d' of Harry's salon is tapping her on the shoulder, telling her, hey, there's a bunch of livings down there having a shindig in your honor. I'm sure she'll be right with us as soon as she wins her pot. But don't get the idea that she doesn't care about us, plus the fact that we're all gathered here in her honor. After all, she did wait until April 15th to pass. You're welcome, Taylor, Mackenzie, and Bob Finston. Those are our two tax accountants in the family. Throughout her life, she was always very loving and caring person, and her family always came first. And that's the mom I know, love, and remember, a fiercely strong and independent woman who loved life on her terms. My sister Karen would like to tell you her life story.
She's not that short, Jeff. Oh, she is. I'm sorry.
Okay, well, she definitely had the perfect day for her funeral service. She loved heat, and it definitely warmed up past the 80 degrees, except I don't think she's too happy right now. I don't know, it's kind of cold. Anyhow. So yeah, I'm fourth born. Not sure when I got up here. I guess I thought, because I'm a teacher, but I thought I could memorize my stuff, but forget it. Doesn't work that way for me. Anyhow, she was born in Grand Rapids on August 4th, 1938, and lived her life there as the only child of Ken and Maxine Sly, my loving grandparents. She was an extremely smart young lady and skipped a grade at Wyandotte High School, graduating at just 16 years old. We heard that over and over. She grew up loving baseball, especially the Detroit Tigers, and had a secret crush on Al Kaline. Okay, I'm not a beast. All right, beast Sorry, baseball people. Guess I don't follow baseball enough. She didn't tell me that story much, so it must have been a Ken and Jeff. The Tiger Star right fielder. Recently, she claimed to have had a baseball signed by all the Major League players of their championship season. Her youngest son, Jeff, took it and played baseball with it, completely ruining the ball and its value. When we told her that was just the storyline from the movie Sandlot, she denied it and continued to insist Jeff ruined her treasured ball. She went to college at Michigan Tech, where she majored in drafting and boys. She was a majorette and was the lead baton twirler at the football games. She met my father, the team's hunt quarterback there, fell in love and ended up leaving college to get married and start the next phase of her life. My dad became an Air Force pilot, so traveling around the world became part of her life. Over the next 7 years, our family grew to 6. She had Ken, Jeff, Sharon, and finally, the one and only, me. When we were stationed at the Philippines, we had a nanny and a housekeeper, looked after us 4 kids, as my mom and dad were free to roam, and roam they did. I believe this was one of the happiest times for my mother. She traveled all over the Philippines, Hong Kong, Thailand, and played a lot of golf and bridge. Mostly they did a lot of partying. When we returned to the good old USA, my grandparents were living in Cameron Park, California, and had 5-acre ranch with horses. We affectionately called it the White House. One of the horses was a one-eyed mare named Condon. They added 2 additional horses, Blaze and Shaver. In 1967, Grandma and my mom decided to train for the ride in the Tevis, an endurance ride where you have to finish 100 miles in 24 hours from Lake Tahoe to Auburn. It is a grueling test, and at the end of the 24 hours, my grandmother finished the ride on Blaze, but my mother was pulled because Shaver became lame after 35 miles. It took my mom 7 total attempts over the next 20 years to finally finish the Tevis on her horse named Princess. She finally got her silver and gold buckle, which is the prize for finishing. She worked in the post office for years to supplement the salary of the Air Force captain. When we were stationed at George Air Force Base in the desert of Southern California, we boarded our horses with a man named Dick Clanton, who was a direct descendant of the famous Clanton gang from Tombstone. He loved my mom and all us kids like family. He liked me the most. He had to take care of me. He introduced us to quarter horse racing, and the family moved to Phoenix, Arizona. Mom decided, quarter horse racing, and she loved to have my brother Ken, told him, you're going to be a jockey at the race in Victorville, California. So Ken said, okay. The lovely life of the Air Force had family moved to Phoenix, Arizona. Mom decided to open a Purina feed store out of a shed next to the house. She also kept the quarter horse racing idea going with Ken being her jockey in Flagstaff, Arizona. Kind of got a bump on his head. He can tell you about that. Later in life, my parents divorced, and she remarried and had a 5th child. She named her Mona after her childhood best friend. The life as a country horse racing gig is a hard life with a little reward. My sister Sharon and I would work our butts off, doing side jobs to help put food on the table. Mom's husband turned out to be a hard, mean man that got drunk and treated her badly. One night she had enough, and the next morning packed up and loaded us 3 girls into the truck and headed to Oxnard, California to be with my grandparents. This was the end of my mom's dark period. She got her real estate license and tried to make a living, but it was a difficult money-making lifestyle. She started work as a secretary of the Naval Surface Warfare Center in Port Hueneme, California. That's where my grandpa worked. My mom had an aptitude for engineering, and she went back to school to improve her life and earning potential. She got her AA degree and began working on the Tartar ship computer weapons system. She traveled all around the world to support the missile system. She was introduced to my stepdad, Pierre, on a blind date. Somehow, magically, they hit it off and got married. Sharon and I gave them the best come home from their honeymoon gift. Present they could have asked for. We snuck into their house on Kitty Lane and greased the toilets and doorknobs, teepeed the house, put Rice Krispies in their bed, short-sheeted the bed for a good measure. Pierre's response was to feed us steak the next day, topped with Rice Krispies and toilet paper. He got us back. We had fun doing it. They wanted horse property, so they moved to their house on Barranca Lane and restarted the quest for the Tevis. I got my buckle, Sharon got her buckle, but not my mom. Finally, in 1988, my mom got her buckle. The 7 attempts were full of adventures, including, so I was going to go over a few of them. When my mom and I in Barranca in California on that street, when she bought their house, they got a horse named Princess, and they got a horse named Dixie. Dixie was a paint, Princess was an Arab. And my mom and I took off to Tevis, and we were on the trail, the last part of it, which is a canyon. It's a zigzag down off the cliffside. And my mom's horse, she decided to ride, she was going to ride Princess, the Arab. And we're on the trail. It was her birthday, August 4th. And Princess decided not to cross a little stream of water. She went up a black rock and was standing there with 4 legs spread apart. My mom looked at me and said, "I can't ride her." And I said, "Mom, it's okay." She's, "No, I can't come because when we hit this part on the ride, it's dark. It's nighttime. I can't do this." So I said, "Well, we could switch." So we did switch. I finished. Mom didn't. So that was one of her attempts. Another attempt was she was riding, we were in Sports Illustrated actually. Sharon was on one of the horses, my mom was on a horse, and I was on a horse. I don't think, did any of us finish? We never finished that year. No. And then one year, my mom decided, okay, so she got on Princess, she was riding Princess, and I was with her, and we're going up this one part of the trail, and her horse, the horses in front of us stopped. They had an issue going on. It wasn't a safe place. There was a cliff on the side and everything. And my mom was, all of a sudden her horse, Princess, started to freak out and started to back up. I decided, I got my buckle. I jumped off of my horse, ran over, grabbed my mom's horse, and held on to her. And my mom just looked at me, and I said, "This is the year you're going to finish. So we're going to move forward. You need to get your horse." And he started to go off. And I said, "You all right?" Because they had already fixed the issue and started head on. And that is the year she finally got her buckle on Princess. So it was worth jumping off my horse, going to get her to help her out. That's how my family is, though. So these are some of the attempts that went along the way. And it's been a great adventure with the horses. All right, so where am I? About my attempts. And then, Jeff got his buckle in 1993. Don't worry, Ken, we're coming to you. Where are you? When Mom wanted to retire from the civil service, she always wanted to live back in the Northern California area. So Pierre, being the dedicated man, took a job in Sacramento Procter & Gamble plant while they still lived in Southern California. Pierre would travel in Sacramento. When he wasn't working, would scour the countryside looking for the perfect house. It had to have a property for horses and access to trails. They finally got their dream and moved into the house on Salmon Falls Road. Pierre worked for Procter & Gamble for 35 years before retiring. My mom retired too when she got up here. I call this this is the next section, which is the grandchildren phase. And you can see there's a lot of them out here. 3 generations had now earned their Tevis buckles, and Mom wanted her grandchildren to try. So when Carolyn, Sharon's daughter, was 14 and Brittany, Jeff and Carolyn's daughter, was 12, they set out. I'm sorry, Jeff's daughter. You left out Carolyn, by the way. And then Bob. There we go. Sharon and Bob's daughter. I got to cover that. Okay. Set out to train and ride the Tevis. You have to qualify to ride the Tevis nowadays, so they went out many shorter endurance rides prior to attempting the granddaddy of endurance riding world. In addition, kids under 18 had to be sponsored. That's where I come in. So my mom and I were their sponsors. My mom asked me to train with her and the girls that summer. We had many campouts along the Tevis Trail. Unfortunately, Mom's horse Lady Hawk suffered an ankle injury, and my mom had to frantically look for another horse to do the Tevis. The race came, and unfortunately, my mom got pulled at 35 miles. A little deja vu. The good news is I was able to get both juniors across the finish line in what turned out to be one of the hardest things I've ever done. So thanks for that, Mom. Haha. Yeah.
Carolyn had a broken toe. Brittany had mono, Carolyn had a broken toe.
I wasn't very sympathetic to my nieces. I'm sorry. I had to get them across the finish line, else I'd never hear it from my mom and Pierre. So I definitely had to take them across. So I told him one had a bloody nose. I said, stiff a sponge up your nose. The other one had a toe issue. I said, well, is your horse fine? And they said, yeah. I said, well, then we're going on. Get over it. So anyhow, I was not as sympathetic, but I got him across. With the family's help, 20-some people. But we won't talk about No Hands Bridge. Okay. Yeah. Since then, 2 other grandchildren have earned their buckles. Teresa in April. And for some reason, the boy grandchildren haven't stepped up to the plate, except for Dakota, who's tried 2 attempts, but following in Grandma's footsteps at this point. Ken got his buckle in 2007. Mom loved the Tevis, also led other family members to get their buckles. Bob in 2006 and Hilda in 2018. She tried 2 attempts, and then Bob, I don't know, how many attempts did you have? 2? Okay. For some reason after 2, they just quit. I don't know why. Her family adventures had led the family in getting a total of 13 Tevis buckles along the way, and let's just say a huge family gathering. All right. Did I do this right? Yeah. In 2005, Mom and Pierre adopted 2 of their grandkids, Kevin and Kaylee. It was a time in their life to think about taking it easy and just enjoy the retirement they had both earned. But instead, they chose the hard things to raise a 7-year-old and an 18-month-old baby to adulthood. Again, family came first. My mom loved poker, and she loved to go on poker cruises, so it became her thing to take most of her grandkids on a cruise when they turned 21 and introduce them to Texas Hold'em poker tournament. On any given day, you could show up at the house, and there she would be on her laptop playing poker. She would go to Kaylee's cross-country bike rides with her hotspot so she could play while she was waiting for Kaylee to finish her race. My mom would do anything for her kids, grandkids, and great-grandkids. Thank you.
So she'd really wait for Kaylee to finish the ride or end up in the first aid station, but... Where's Kaylee? Okay. And that was my mom. Family and friends were very important to her. We got to go on some very special trips with Mom. We did family vacations on Lake Mead, Nevada, Lake Shasta, Cancun, Mexico, Merced. When her grandson Jeffrey played professional baseball, we traveled to France, Australia, in the Midwest to watch him play ball. Mom loved to tease Jeffrey after he left baseball, saying, "Now we don't have a good reason to travel." Here's some interesting facts about my mom, Carol. She was the first woman contractor to ride, as a civilian civil servant contractor, to ride on a Navy destroyer ship, operational destroyer ship. Today is Pierre and my mom's 46th anniversary. She was married 3 times and only shot one of her husbands. She has 5 kids, 16 grandkids, 21 great-grandkids. She loved to eat oysters. She took over 20 cruises in her life. My mom traveled the world, literally: Australia, Puerto Rico, Mexico, France, Alaska, Hawaii, Philippines, Japan, Thailand, Hong Kong, Ireland, Bahamas, Panama, Jamaica, Cayman Islands, Spain, Aruba, St. Kitts, Costa Rica, Panama, St. Lucia, Belize, St. Martin, St. Thomas, Barbados, Curacao. Maybe I should have listed the places she hadn't visited. My mom had a wonderful life. I truly wish she could have been happier these last few years, but she wasn't, and that makes me sad. But when I look around and I see the legacy of family and friends that fill this place, I'm reminded what a truly wonderful life she had, and it fills my heart with joy. Love all of you guys. I will miss you, Mom. Okay. Now my sister Sharon and my daughter Brittany would like to come up and sing a song in dedication to Carol.
Did you take our picture? No, I think Karen took our picture.
Karen.
I'm not quite as tall.
Does someone know that they're starting?
Now the end is near, so I face the final curtain. My friend, I'll say it clear, I'll state my case, of which I'm certain. I've lived a life that's full. I traveled each and every highway and more, much more than this. I did it my way.
Regrets, I've had a few, but then again, too few to mention. I did what I had to do and saw it through without exemption.
I planned each charted course, each careful step along the byway, and more, much more than this. I did it my way. Yes, there were times, I'm sure you knew, when I bit off more than I could chew. But through it all, when there was doubt, I ate it up and spit it out. I faced it all, and I stood tall and did it my way.
I've loved, I've laughed and cried, I've had my fill, my share of losing. And now, as tears subside, I find it all so amusing
To think I did all that.
And may I say, not in a shy way. Oh no, not me. I did it my way. For what is a man? What has he got?
If not himself, then he has not.
To say the things he truly feels,
And not the words of one who kneels. The record shows I took the blows and did it my way.
Tell me when.
Mom,
You did it your way.
So we have some talent in our family. That was beautiful, thanks. That was really nice. Mom loved to go to every event. If it was a grandchild, if it was a great-grandchild, and they were playing soccer or dancing on a stage, she would be there supporting them. She really loved her stars. She loved John Wayne. She loved Dean Martin, and she certainly loved Old Blue Eyes, Frank Sinatra. So that was really special. Next, we would like to invite anyone up to the microphone and tell us your brief story about my mom. Sharon, be ready to sing them off if they go too long. So I'd like, if anybody has something they would like to say, a story, anything, please come on up.
Well, now
For those of you normal people that are not horse people, normal people do not ride horses 100 miles, just so you know. So this is a very peculiar family in that perspective. Well, let me say, first of all, I'm doing okay now. Pierre and I have cried for the past 2 weeks together. We spent quite a bit of time together, and so we've shed a few H2O dry. Anyway, we've cried a lot together the past 2 weeks. So I just want to say that, you talked about happy times, and I think that the amount of joy and happiness my mother had was exceptional because of this principled man that has been supported her horse passion and been the best friend. to my mom, Pierre's been remarkable, and he's been a good friend to all of us kids. And I'm just thankful for you in our life, Pierre. And he's loved my mom amazingly for 46 years. So we're proud of you. Thankful for you in our lives. Right up here in Cameron Park, about 5 miles away, I spent my third grade. Jeff was in his second grade. I don't know what grade the girls were in, but my dad was in Vietnam, and for a year, well, it was about 10 and a half months, something like that, and we got to live up here in Cameron Park for third grade. My mother, we had our first Little League. Jeff was the catcher, and I was the pitcher, and my mother and another lady, Mrs. Wacker, were the coaches, and we got first place. And my mother loved baseball. She loved sports. And that was a remarkable year. And all the male coaches were jealous of the fact that we got first place. So we have great memories every time we go to Cameron Park because that's where the White House was, the 5 acres, so much horseback riding that was initially part of our lives. And then I was going to tell one other story about my mother. So I'm a freshman in high school in Phoenix, Arizona, Peoria, actually. And I tried to play basketball, never imagining that my brother was going to be the best basketball player in the entire place, and I got cut for my freshman team. And it's the first thing I really ever failed at in my life. And I came home. I remember walking into the back door of the house, and I was devastated, tears like I have right now. And I remember just her consoling me and putting my head on her chest and just consoling me. And that was always a very memorable moment of my mom's life. And she was a hard driver, and but she believed that hard work and that we could do anything and accomplish anything that we wanted to do in our lives. And I'm always thankful for that. She was an amazing woman in that way. Anyway, thank you for everybody that's come here to support us. I love you guys from Santa Rosa. And all the friends and family members that have come so far, we love you all. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you know me. I love talking in front of people. I just wanted to acknowledge mainly a lot to the cousins. Just what a special life that we had growing up because of Grandpa and Grandma. Sometimes I tell friends about memories, and it was not without dysfunction and argument by any means, but man, we had such a special place to come to and commune. And I often joke that if somebody got an A on a test, we would get together at Grandma and Grandpa's house and celebrate. And there'd probably be a slip and slide or a rock climbing wall there. So I just want to acknowledge Grandpa and missing Grandma and just that really special childhood that we got to spend together. So, yeah, Grandpa, thank you. Just love Grandma.
So introducing ourselves, actually that's Carolyn, that's Sharon, and my daughter. And I was asked to come up, but not officially. I am Bob. I am married to Sharon. And my story is I have an older brother and sister who live in Southern California. And Sharon and I got married. We had a minivan, 4 kids and a dog. And my brother and sister really didn't care about my parents or our parents, who lived in Marin County, which is north of San Francisco, near us. So I personally didn't want to have my parents be alone on Mother's Day, Father's Day, Thanksgiving, Christmas, whatever. So we would go, all 6 of us, Sharon and I and the 4 kids, and a dog, in the van and drive all night so we could be, let's say, at Thanksgiving with Carol and Pierre down in Southern California. Then we would get up in the middle of the night, have the kids in sleeping bags, and drive back to Marin County, where Sharon would start another turkey, and we would have my parents for dinner. This went on for about 3 or 4 years. Anyway, so Sharon says I have the wrong, I'm getting old. Anyway, Carol and Pierre asked us, Sharon and I said, why do you leave so early? And I told them the story, and they said, why didn't you invite our parents, your parents, to join us for the holidays? And by then they had moved to El Dorado Hills, where they live now. And Sharon and I went and talked to my father and mother and my dad. Oh, I don't want to put them out. Please, I am not going to put these people out. And Sharon and I said, you're putting us out. 4 kids and a dog, and we have no sleep. And so I said to my father and mother, and Sharon said, try it just one time. And if you don't like it, we'll continue to go back and forth. Well, my parents showed up, and Carol and Pierre together said, you're part of the family, welcome. And they, with open arms, and they hugged them as they came in. My parents, for the rest of my father's life, were included as family with Carol and Pierre and the rest of the family for the rest of my dad's life. And at the end of this, after my father passed away, I decided I was going to write to, like, Dear Abby about that. That, instead of people complaining, that something really nice could be happen. And that was the featured article about how families should be. Carol and Pierre's family. This is how families should be. So you, in a national newspaper, what you did for my family was recognized. And I love you and I thank you for that.
Howdy, everybody. I'm Kevin Simpson, one of the grandchildren that was beautifully adopted by my grandpa and my grandma. Must say that I was very blessed to be adopted by my grandparents. They really brought forth a new way of living that I would have not been blessed with if it hadn't been for these two. And I thank you guys so much for taking your time out of your retirement and everything you do to, raise me and my sister. And it meant a lot. So, but, to touch on what Carolyn said, she was always there for everybody. She always showed up, and she was always present and able to be there for all the grandkids and great-grandkids and how many crazy people, Don't forget the dogs. Oh, yeah. I mean, and she wouldn't even let me have Dro, so... But yeah, no, I really do appreciate everything y'all have always done for us. She was quite the feisty lady. I think that's where I kind of learned it a little bit from too as well. A funny story that I was just thinking about when I was sitting there was I was a manager at the restaurant I was previously working at, and there was a lot of people trying to unionize my business that I was managing, and I remember talking to Grandma about it, and my grandma was so frustrated. Oh, God. Anything politics that could get that lady riled up. And so I went and I told her, I said, hey, there's people trying to unionize at my restaurant. And she says, you walk right up to that lady and you tell her, my grandma knows where Jimmy Hoffa's buried. Thank you, guys.
Maybe I am that short. Another funny story that is actually Maddie's, but she didn't want to come up here because she is scared to talk in front of people. I'm just kidding. But this is how I will remember Gigi, not as the frustrated as she has been for the last few years. I remember her in this light. So we were at dinner once and with Grandma and Grandpa and Papa and Gigi. And Maddie was sitting next to Gigi, and Gigi was like, "So Maddie, what books do you want for Christmas?" And she was like, "Oh, I don't know. I'm not reading much right now." And she was like, "No, I'm going to get you a bunch of books because you're a Leo, right? So you're going to read and you're going to save the world." And Maddie, oh, she's just going to save the country, sorry. Maddie's just going to save, you're just going to save the country. And then Maddie was like, Maddie went to the bathroom with Grandma and she was like, "Grandma, that's a lot of pressure. I don't know if I can do that." And Grandma was like, I don't know how to help." And and Grandma was like, "Just smile, just nod." And Maddie was like, "Well, I don't know how to save the world. I don't know how to save the country. Like, this is a lot of pressure. I don't know." And yeah, that's just a funny story that I will always remember.
So I just remember this one time, I was just like at my Gigi and Papa's house, and then I just remember I was sitting on the couch. I don't know what I was doing, but my Gigi just turns to me and says, "Do you know, Maddie, do you have a boyfriend?" And I'm like, "No, I don't think I should." And then she's like, "Well, this is just a life tip. You can never only have one boyfriend. You need at least 5 at a time." And I was like, "Why?" And then she was like, "Because, like, if one breaks up with you, backups."
So when me, my dad, and my sisters were here, we're at Gigi and Papa Pierre's house. We were gonna play poker. So my dad asked, "Well, hey, where are the poker chips?" I'm like, "Grandma had where are Grandma's poker chips?" I'm like, "Grandma had poker chips?" And then he's like, "Yeah, Grandma was a really big poker player." And then he went to find them. And then when he came back with the whole case of them, I'm like, "Wow!" And then, because me and my dad played poker together, and we just used shredded up pieces of paper. So I'm like, "Wow!" And then, yeah, so we just played poker, and, like, yeah, it was just fun to know, like, whoa, she played poker.
And I have those poker chips now. They're absolutely wonderful. So thank you, Grandma. I don't think there's a lot of stories that I could tell that all of you guys don't already know a million times over, but we all know Grandma was a firecracker. She said what she wanted to say, and she was passionate about the things she believed in. And when something was an affront to what she believed in, or if something wasn't the way she wanted, she made sure you knew about it. I remember her standing tall, even if smaller in her old age, right? But I appreciate her and everything she did to always make sure that I felt welcome in this family and felt welcome in this room. And no matter if it was 5 years when I saw her or however long, I got a smile when I came down to Salmon Falls Road. And I'll always think back and remember all the good times and all the good people and all the good faces, even if I'm terrible and I hide in the shadows all the time and I'm not usually there. But thank you, Pierre, for everything. Thank you, everyone, for everything. And Carol, you did it your way, so thank you.
I'm Greg McKenzie, Ken's son, grandson to Carol, Grandma. And I just wanted to walk up here. When I started working for the U.S. Navy about 15 years ago, it was a nice time to connect with Grandma Carol, because she also worked for a Naval Surface Warfare Center and would go out to ships. And I've been in the Navy for about 15 years, and 15 years ago, Navy was a rough Navy. And a Navy, when Grandma Carol would go out to sea, was a very rough Navy, especially for women. And it just, I mentioned Firecracker, and Grandma was very strong-willed and outspoken and just very brave. And I just want to say that I've always admired that about her. I've always known that I've had grandparents that have loved me, and I think all of us grandkids can say that. And just appreciate all the effort, a lot of work throughout her life to make it a home for her kids and her grandkids. And I appreciate the sacrifices that she's made.
I'm Magic. I pop out of the door. This is my first time meeting a lot of you this trip. I was very blessed to meet Carol a few times last year, with Kaylee coming up to Idaho for college, and Carol coming up, and also with Nick going to college. My fondest memory of Carol was actually last year when Nick proposed to me and we were driving through with our engagement trip, was staying up with Pierre and Carol, and she looked at me and she says, "Do you know how to play poker?" And I told her, "No, but he does." And so she decided to teach me how to play poker. And then we get home and we play Dungeons and Dragons because we're big nerds. And one of our friends, they were running it, and they decided to put a poker game in the middle of the game. Carol taught me so well, I beat everybody, so. But she just had a lot of laughter and joy, and so does Pierre, and they were just so welcoming, and they just have a lot of love. They just loved everybody. And then last night, Kaylee, Kevin, and Nick, they went down to a card house, and they took me with them, and so we got to play blackjack, and it just felt really fun. And I learned, but it also felt like this is what Grandma would have wanted, just to have fun. So, yeah.
First of all, just want to say to Papa, someone's writing this all down so you can read it later and actually hear what everyone's saying. Because he can't hear very good. I got here, I'm Danny, I'm married to one of the singers. I'll let you figure it out. But I came into this family 17 years ago, and hit me really hard today when I got here and saw Gigi, and I didn't know why, and I know I loved her, I know I still love her, but she was just an anomaly, right? Just the yin and yang of everything in life, right? She loved baseball, and she hated soccer because it was a waste of grass that could have been a baseball field. She loved family, but she hated people. You know? I mean, she loved cruising. She loved cruising on cruise ships. She hated driving because of people, because there were people out. Like, she loved poker and cribbage. She hated losing. She didn't want to lose, right? Like, she was just this anomaly of yin and yang of everything in life. And I think that's what made her fascinating. And I think that's what made her special, is that you identified with so much, and you also just didn't understand the other half of it.
but she loved a family, and there was no but after that. That was it. If you were in the circle, you were in the circle, and for everyone who was born into the family, that was just the love that you got to get. But for those of us who came from the outside, she accepted us, and she let us in, right? And she made us feel special, and she made us feel a part of something bigger than who we are. And so for that, I'm forever grateful, and I love you. And yeah, you changed my life. So thank you.
Hi, I'm Mona. I'm the fifth born. To say the least, my mom and I had a contentious relationship. But I wanted to shed just a little bit of light on a couple of things and stories that you guys told. When Mom was in the Philippines with Bob, your dad, they were at a dinner with the ambassadors of Thailand. She rocked it with people you would not even imagine. You know, the MPs came in and swooped them up right before they were attacked. I mean, she was looked out for. She said that she was looked out for by her great uncle who was a bootlegger. Yeah. And she said that she always felt like he was watching over her. And, I've always known my mom a little bit differently than you guys. I've always known her as fierce. I've always known her as protective. She's tried so hard to make the best decisions, and when something threatened her or the family or the kids, she took it in her own hands and she saved us. She moved us out and got us away. And the ship, it's not just that she was the first female contractor on a ship, on that warship, but it was in active times of combat. And I just think that's really important. Those are stories I tell about her all the time to my friends, about how awesome she was. And I just thank you, Mom, for helping us find peace again before you left. Thank you.
Another one that just came to mind was over like when we were having Christmas a few years ago. I don't know. So there was just this big like a crate, like not really a crate, just like a box that was just kind of round. So there was 3 types of popcorn. There was just regular, caramel, and then another type. So I was eating like lots of caramel, and then she said, "Don't eat up the whole thing." And then I stopped and I put it away. The next minute I came over and got some more. She said, "Don't eat the popcorn." Then I went back. The next time I got 1 kernel. Then I said, "I'm only getting 1 kernel." The next minute, another kernel. Next minute, next minute. When it was like time to go back, I forget where we were staying or something. Like the 3/4 of the caramel popcorn was gone.
Those are great stories. Thank you. That was very good. I guess last chance. Raise a hand. Come up. No? Okay. That'll conclude it. I would like to ask Madison to come up with her mom to close us in a prayer.
Why is it so tall?
Please bow your heads.
Dear God, thank you for this special day and thank you for my Gigi. She was a wonderful great-grandma and we will miss her a lot. Please take good care of her as the way that she took good care of all of us. If you give the chance, spend some time with her and give her a Hershey's Kiss. She loved those as much as she loves her Snickers bars. I hope she finds great rest and peace in your loving arms. God bless you and Gigi and rest in peace. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
So that concludes our memorial of Carol Simpson, Gigi, grandma, mom, wife. She will be in our hearts forever. And I just want to thank all of you so much for being here and supporting Pierre, who has just been a rock. He has just been the best. He's been the rock of this family. And really just thank you, Pierre, for the man that you are and that you've been all along, just solid. So thank you very much. I'd like to invite, well,
I just want to say one thing.
wait a minute. Brittany, you can sing her off, right? Okay.
So Pierre came into my life when I was 18. Karen was 16, still in high school. Jeff and Ken were out of the house. And he married my mom in spite of me and Karen. But we didn't do anything to be mean. We just wanted to make sure he knew what kind of family he was coming into. And Pierre has honestly been the best dad anyone could ask for. And when my mom was getting ready to die, my daughter and I were driving, and my daughter said, I get Grandpa. And I went, what do you mean you get Grandpa? And she goes, well, he's going to come live with me, and I'm going to do physical therapy, and I'm going to pick his brain and learn everything about fixing houses. So I'm very self-sufficient. And I said, you don't get Grandpa. He's coming to live with us because I still have a lot of work to do on my house. But it's just, that's how deeply loved Pierre is. And I've called him Pierre since I've known him, but it's been with the deepest love and affection. And he was a great husband to my mom for 46 years. And he has been the best dad any of us could ask for. He's best grandpa and best papa. And this is, I know about my mom today, but I'm not sure we'd have had quite all the memories we have without our Pierre. And I just wanted to say that.
That's okay. That was awesome. I kind of echo those words of sentiment. So thank you, everybody, again for coming. And just please, there's food, there's refreshments, and there's stories to be told, probably amongst ourselves. So please, just hang around and let's just gather and enjoy our company for a while.
And she's being buried in Michigan.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah. Just in case you guys didn't know, my grandparents, Maxine and Ken Sly, were buried in Sheridan, Michigan, and there's a good story behind that if you want to hear about the gravesite story from my mom. But that's where she will be going. We're flying back there on the 18th, and we're going to have a gravesite burial service for my mom, and she'll be buried in the same cemetery as her parents, which is what she always wanted. We were always like, how are we going to come visit you? But we'll get there when we can, and that's what we're going to do. So love all of you guys. Thank you so much for coming, and please enjoy the time together.